Hey guys, Redneck Mini 14 here, and I want to do a quick little video on some current events. Mainly terrorism, Syrian and Iraqi refugees, and gun control. I've actually wanted to do this video for quite a while now, and then I just haven't done it, and then all of a sudden this whole San Bernardino, California thing pops up, and I kind of wanted to, I really wanted to do it for a while. So I got some notes here. I'll go point by point, try to stay on track, give you my viewpoints, and what I think this means for the future. Right off the bat, though, let me just put this out there. I am not one of those people who is completely anti-Muslim, okay? I don't think that all Muslim people are terrorists or just bad people in general. Likewise, I don't think that all Christians are extremely loving, peaceful people as well. There's definitely extremes on in both religions. So just throwing that out there. So this is not a totally anti-Muslim thing, but it is anti-terrorism. Okay, I'm totally against terrorism, as I hope you and anybody else watching, I hope you are as well. So, first thing on the list, Paris. Several weeks ago, there was a shooting in Paris, and I guess it was a shooting bombing. It was a terrorist attack, pretty much. It was committed by ISIS. I don't know all the details. I know that there were, I want to say, 6 assailants, and they all were armed with AK-47 style rifles, full auto, and I think they were also armed with bombs. And they shot up and blew up a bunch of people. I've seen the numbers range from like down as low as 120 up to like 160, but I've seen the numbers like everywhere. I don't know the exact number, but we'll just say, for all intents and purposes, that they killed about 130 people. That's where most of the numbers seem to be around, is around 130 people. That's a lot of people. And France really isn't a very violent culture, I don't think. I'm not an expert on France by any means, but this was a pretty big attack on France. 130 people killed by 6 people. Something to note, France has very restrictive gun laws, as does a lot of other European nations like the United Kingdom and I think Germany as well. There's just a lot of restrictive gun laws in that area of the world. And in France, of course, it's almost impossible to own a handgun. I think it's probably almost impossible to own a long gun as well. I'm not exactly sure on all the laws in France, but I can tell you for one thing, fully automatic AK-47s definitely illegal. Oh wait, the terrorists were armed with fully automatic AK-47s. Where did they get them, Redneck? I'm gonna guess that they smuggled them into the country. Huh. It's funny how gun control laws don't work for guns being smuggled into the country by terrorists used to kill 130 people. Anyway, next talking point. This is all going to have to go back to Syrian and Iraqi refugees, of course. But before we get there, we're going to talk about there was a passport mysteriously found at the scene of the crime. Exactly where, I don't know. But apparently, one of the attackers who claimed he was from ISIS had a passport from Syria. And now there are all these speculations out there. Oh, he was a Syrian refugee, or one side says he was a Syrian refugee, which he could have been. The other side says, well, no, it's a fake passport. So if it's a fake passport, then your argument is invalid. don't know about that because, if it's a fake passport and he's a member of ISIS, which he claims to be, that kind of leads me to believe that he forged a passport. So if ISIS can forge passports from Syria, don't you think that they could do the same thing when coming into the United States? When we bring in Syrian refugees, if and when, it's looking like when. Which brings us to the next talking point is Syrian refugees into the United States. I've seen numbers of 10,000 to 20,000 Syrian refugees that Obama wants to bring over here. And, I get that, people, left-wing people want to help these people in a war-torn country. I get it. Okay, for one thing, why do we have to come here? That's one thing. There are lots and lots of homeless people here already. Yeah, people throw around the argument of, well, there's so many vacant homes, and all those homeless people can have a home, but we're not doing anything about it. I don't know why. But, we're bringing in, or we're wanting to bring in more and more outsiders and giving them homes instead of the already homeless people in America. It just doesn't make any sense to me, especially when there's like 50,000 homeless veterans. So, I just don't understand. But back to the passport thing, if passports in Syria are so easy to forge, and your argument is, well, if it's a fake passport, you can't prove that he was a Syrian refugee, so your argument's invalid. Well, I think my argument's actually more valid than ever, because if Syrian passports are so easy to forge, ISIS or any other terrorist organization could forge a passport, pretend to be a Syrian refugee, and come on over here and kill a bunch of Americans. Kind of like the terrorist attack in San Bernardino. We'll get to that in a minute. That wasn't, of course, Syrian refugees, but something like that could happen. Just a thought. So, yeah, okay. Now, my next talking point has to do with racist arguments. Mainly people from the left side of the argument. I always say the left and the right. There's people. Most people are like kind of in the middle of things. But for the most part, there's like a lot of liberal people they are wanting to help these Syrian refugees, and people on the right, the conservative side, they don't want them to come here at all because of national security. And I can see why. I can also see why people want to bring them over here to help them. But we can help them in other countries where their culture is more of the norm. You know what I'm saying? What was I going with this? Oh yeah. So people always want to and I'll tell you this right now. I have lost probably over a dozen friends in the past few weeks because of my stance on Syrian refugees. Okay, and my stance on it is purely a national security stance. In other words, if it's possible for ISIS to be sending over their people amongst the Syrian refugees, we shouldn't bring them over here. We should be trying to help them in their own countries. Okay? We shouldn't allow them to come over here to possibly harm us. That's all I'm saying. Okay? And France proved that. France proved that that can happen. But people want to just jump down your throat and say, well, you're a racist, you're an Islamophobe, you're, whatever. Okay, Islam's not a race, first of all. Any person of any race can go to Islam and follow Islamic teachings. Somebody who is white, like me, somebody who is black, people in Africa are there's Muslims down there, and they're black. I'm pretty sure the Boston Marathon bombers were also Muslim and they were white. Okay, that again proves you wrong. So being against Islamic terrorists cannot make you racist. People will also say, well, they're not even Muslims coming over here. Okay, did you personally ask 10,000 people what their religion was? I bet you didn't. Okay, so some of them are probably Christians, some of them could be Jews, but I guarantee you there are a lot of Muslims in there as well. Some of them could be working for ISIS. That's just a thought. And then, of course, after the whole France thing and the governors saying that we're not going to allow Syrian refugees to come to our states, blah, 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 and President Obama put out a speech saying that we're so afraid of widows and orphans coming over here, and we're so afraid to help these poor women and children because women and children have never been used in terrorist attacks before, right? San Bernardino? One more point to point out with the whole racist argument is somebody who I actually ended up blocking said, this is on Facebook, said that there are more people in the Westboro Baptist Church than there are in ISIS. Okay, first of all, I'm not even actually sure how you know exactly how many people are affiliated with ISIS or ISIL, but whatever. Second of all, when was the last time you saw the Westboro Baptist Church lining up people, shooting them in the head, and tossing their bodies in the river? I haven't seen that. And also, there's all these people saying, well, if you think that Christianity is a much more peaceful religion than Islam, then you don't know the history of Christianity. And you're right. You know what? You're absolutely right. There was very violent times in Christianity history, but that's all it is, history. When was the last time that there was a crusade for Christianity? Long time ago. We're talking about the modern day. ISIS, ISIL, Al-Qaeda, all modern day threats. So we're talking about the modern day. Stop complaining about history because, saying that Christians of today are to blame for the Crusades, it's just like saying that white people of today are responsible for slavery back in the 17 and 1800s. Or like saying Germans of today are responsible for the Nazis of the 1930s and 40s. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, off of that little soapbox. Next talking point, San Bernardino. Okay, a few days ago, probably about a week ago now, there was a big shooting in San Bernardino. There were two, at first there were reports of 3 attackers. I don't know where the third one ended up. And I could have swore that I read somewhere that they actually had names for 3 attackers, but now I only see names for 2 attackers, a husband and a wife. Oh, look at that, a woman terrorist. So anyway, we're going to tie these next 2 talking points together, which is San Bernardino and gun control. These are the last 2 points. I think it was some health organization office was attacked by these 2, maybe 3 terrorists. They were Islamic Muslims. They were armed with 2 AR-15s and 2 9mm handguns. Okay, and this is in California. And California is like the biggest state when it comes to gun control. They have the most restrictive gun control laws. You gotta have 10-round magazines, you gotta have a bullet button that contrary to popular belief, it doesn't make your gun a fully automatic rifle. It actually makes it so that your magazine is a fixed magazine unless you put like a pin or something. You basically need a tool to take the magazine out. But these two AR-15 rifles were modified. So they didn't have a bullet button. They didn't have 10-round magazines. And I think I read somewhere that one, if not both of the rifles were converted to full auto or altered to shoot full auto. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Not exactly sure if they actually truly converted it to full auto or if there was bump fire stocks involved or what. I don't know. You know, news media is not the most reliable source of information, so I can't really explain that one to you. But anyway, the extreme background checks didn't work. The bullet button, didn't work. The 10-round magazines didn't work because they used 30-round magazines. The the list goes on and on. There were many, many laws broken, gun control laws, and President Obama and other politicians out there think that we need more gun control because of this incident. So please explain to me, how does more gun control prevent ISIS from breaking even more laws and killing more people? Please tell me how more gun control prevents more terrorist attacks. Please tell me. Because it doesn't. Okay? Not to mention that there were pipe bombs as part of the terrorist attack. They found like 20 pipe bombs, I think, something like that. They found a lot of ammunition. So obviously they were planning. Obviously their plans, their attack didn't go according to plan. That's good for that it didn't go further than it did. But gun control still killed 14 people because of an ISIS terrorist attack. Oh, and by the way, the woman involved in the attack, she was an immigrant. She came over here from, I think it was Pakistan, and she was fully vetted. Excuse me. Sorry, I just had dinner, so burping up a storm over here. She was supposedly fully vetted, and guess what? She ended up killing 14 people with her husband by her side. So if we can't even vet one Pakistani who comes from a country who is not war torn, and they have a better record keeping system, and they actually have documents on file that you can actually look through. If you can't vet somebody like that, how do you expect to vet 10,000 refugees from a country that doesn't have very many documents and doesn't have it has passports that can be easily forged, like we supposedly saw in Paris? I don't understand. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have. Gun control doesn't save lives, guys. Gun-free zones, yeah, it doesn't save lives. It's time. Now is the time more than ever to be carrying your guns. Buy a gun, learn how to use it, train with it, get a carry permit, open carry if you can, conceal carry if you can, and try to save lives. That's all I have for you. Terrorism is a real threat. Some people don't think it is, but obviously it is. 6 people killed 130 or more in Paris. 2 or 3 people killed 14 and injured like 20 more in San Bernardino, which just happens to be in one of the biggest gun control states in the country. And yet, somehow it's the fault of Arizona and Nevada. I don't understand that one either. Well, their gun laws, their not so restrictive gun laws is the reason for bringing is the reason for this terrorist attack. No, it's not. No, it's not. Stop bringing up false arguments. Stop. Anyway, that's all I have. Leave your comments down below if you have any, and subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook. I'm Redneck Mini 14, and until next time, be safe.